The stars shimmer like frozen fire across the void, silent witnesses to the birth of something new. From the darkness above Neptune's orbit, a shape emerged, sleek, vast, and bristling with potential energy. The ESS Aegis Prime, humanity's first Titan-class warship, slid into space as though it had always belonged there. Its hull, forged from carbon sheet hyperalloy, reflected starlight in muted streaks. No cheers followed its launch. No civilian eyes watched from Earth's surface. Only classified transmissions blinked across secure channels, and the galaxy, in all its silence, remained unaware for now. Admiral Celeste Marlowe stood on the command bridge, her posture as precise as the ship she now controlled. Her presence was deliberate, calm, and unyielding. At 57, she wore her years instead of her jaw rather than in her hair, which was still a striking black save for a silver streak that had nothing to do with age and everything to do with radiation exposure during the New Europa incident. Status report, she said, eyes fixed on the data flowing across the central view screen. Primary reactors are stable. FDL drives are green. All systems report nominal, replied Commander Reese Talon, her executive officer. He was younger by 2 decades and still carried the flush of idealism in his voice, but his record was spotless and his loyalty unquestioned. Celeste offered a tight nod. Bring us into full orbit. Begin pre-jump calculations. The bridge hummed with quiet efficiency. Everything aboard the Aegis Prime was new, from the quantum entangled navigation suite to the AI integration chamber 3 decks below. It wasn't just a warship. It was a symbol, a message, crafted in steel and circuitry, to whatever else might be listening beyond human space. And someone was listening. Celeste could feel it, though she would never admit as much aloud. Behind her, the AI core activated with a soft harmonic chime. Admiral Marlowe, it said, voice genderless but rich in tone. I completed predictive threat modeling for the exo-HALYON sector. Would you like the summary or full projection? She didn't turn. Summary. Probability of unknown intelligent encounter, 68%. Probability of hostile engagement, if encountered, 31%. Outcome projection in that scenario, 12% mission success, 87% strategic failure. Talon raised an eyebrow. That's optimistic. Celeste allowed herself the ghost of a smile. HALYON, highlight all 12% outcomes for a tactical review. Done. Would you like them annotated for human plausibility bias? Later, HALYON fell silent, its presence retreating like breath drawn back through sealed lungs. It was the most advanced artificial mind ever deployed aboard a warship, modeled after Earth's strategic defense grid AI, but with cognitive independence calibrated just shy of full autonomy. Celeste trusted it more than most politicians back home. As the ship shifted into high orbit, the view screen widened to show the curvature of Neptune below, blue and indifferent, swirling in clouds older than any nation. In the quiet, Celeste's thoughts drifted, not to her own legacy, though others obsessed over it, but to the mission's classified objectives. A repeating signal, picked up near the fringe of explored space, had triggered this launch. Faint, structured, and indisputably non-human. Earth's government, or what passed for it beneath layers of treaties and influence syndicates, had panicked. Half wanted to hide. The other half demanded retaliation, despite not knowing what or who had sent the signal. In the end, consensus formed around one concept. Send the Titan and hope it's enough. Now, the ship and crew hovered on the edge of history. Admiral, came a new voice, calm, clinical, and color with curiosity. Dr. Elrin Voss, Chief Science Officer, entered the bridge, a data slab tucked under one arm. His silver robe shimmered faintly, marking him as one of the Orbital Academy's elite. Dr. Voss, Celeste acknowledged without warmth. I've completed initial signal pattern analysis, he said. It's not a beacon, it's a breadcrumb trail. Whoever sent it wanted someone to follow. They wanted us specifically. Talon frowned. You're sure? Voss handed the slab to Celeste. The pulse structure matches early Earth linguistic frameworks. Binary encoded phonemes resembling Proto-Indo-European root syllables. Celeste's gaze narrowed. They know us. Or they knew someone like us. Voss corrected. Either way, It's not random. The message ends at a system in the HALYON sector. No map colonies. No expeditions. It's a blind spot in every star chart. A long silence followed. Then that's where we're going, Celeste said. She tapped the slab once. Coordinates fed directly into the nav core. The bridge dimmed momentarily as the FTL drive began spooling, drawing in space-time like cloth beneath a needle. Outside the ship, the void shimmered. Space around Aegis Prime bent, then collapsed inward. A hum built in the deck plates, rising to a pitch too low for hearing, but felt deep in the gut. Then, with a flash that never reached Earth, the Titan disappeared. Inside the transit corridor, time unspooled. HALYON managed sensory input during FTL to prevent human neural fatigue, layering a tranquil false environment over the crew's awareness. On the bridge, the stars shimmered as though seen through water. Talon broke the silence after several minutes. Do you believe we'll find them? Celeste didn't answer at first. Her fingers rested lightly on the railing, knuckles white. I believe, she said at last, that whatever we find will change everything. Behind her, HALYON stirred again. Multiple subspace pings detected. Faint, non-directional. Tracking unknown quantum signature. Source, she asked. Originating ahead of our course. Increasing in frequency. The air tightened. Then the stars exploded. Not with fire, but with presence. Half the bridge systems flickered. Every unshielded screen bloomed with symbols. Impossible geometries that twisted perception. HALYON's voice cracked once, an unheard-of glitch. Admiral, it said, recovering almost instantly. We are being scanned. Defensive posture, Celeste snapped. No physical threat detected. The scan is cognitive. What? They're reading us. The ship, the minds aboard. Even me? She spun toward the science console. Voss! He looked pale, sweat beading on his brow. We're being evaluated. By who? Voss met her eyes. By something that sees us as a curiosity. The ship jolted, not from impact, but from gravity itself shifting. Then everything stopped. Stars were formed. The Aegis Prime hung in orbit above a cold, gray planet. Unmapped, unnamed. Celeste stared at the view screen, where lights glimmered below, runes etched across a continent, blinking in sequence. HALYON whispered, We've arrived, and they know we're here. The bridge went silent. For a moment, no one moved. Then Celeste exhaled and sat down in the command chair. Begin scans. Prep first contact protocols. Whatever this is, we face it together. Talon turned slowly toward her. What if they don't want peace? Celeste didn't blink. Then we show them why we built a Titan. And in that pause, between breath and word, between silence and what would come next, the galaxy waited. The sky above Arelda 9 was a churning vault of violet clouds pierced by black lightning, each flash illuminating jagged mountain spires that pierced the stratosphere like broken bones. The Aegis Prime remained in high orbit, silent and still, its hull thrumming with energy as its sensors devoured data. No signs of life were detected, no heat signatures, no biological traces. But below, a city gleamed with impossible geometry. Towers shimmered as though half-submerged in other dimensions. Roads pulsed with pale light. It was lifeless, yet undeniably active. Admiral Marlowe stood in the observation blister outside the bridge, hands clasped behind her back. Her eyes weren't on the city, but on the horizon beyond it, where an arc of structures formed a ring like a celestial dial. She'd seen many things during her decades in uniform. Rebellions, alien relics, even the AI rebellion on Mars. But this was something else. This was untouched, unspoiled by war or greed. It frightened her more than any enemy fleet ever had. Behind her, Commander Talon's voice carried through her earpiece. Admiral, survey drones have returned. Visual confirmation. The entire city is running off ambient quantum flux. It's not just advanced. It's centuries ahead. She turned away from the viewport. And no life? None. But everything is active. The machines down there, they're maintaining something. As if expecting someone. A pause. Or preparing. Celeste didn't respond. Instead, she made her way to the command deck, where Dr. Voss and HALYON were already parsing the return telemetry. The data unfurled across the holoscreen like a spiraling mosaic. Heat maps, language fragments, magnetic field distortions, and traces of particle decay that did not match any known standard model. Voss pointed to a section of the city center. That structure, see it? It's a relay hub, but not for communications. It's modulating the planet's natural magnetic field. We believe it's projecting something outward, possibly beyond the system. A signal? Talon asked. Not exactly. A signature, like a flare left behind. But we weren't the ones it was meant to attract. Celeste narrowed her eyes. But it noticed us. Definitely, HALYON confirmed. Initial scan was directed at us. Since then, we've been ignored. Celeste took her seat at the helm. They're watching, but they're not speaking. HALYON replied with something almost too quiet to be heard. Yet, the silence in the bridge deepened. Every member of the crew could feel it, that sense of looming significance. They were the first humans to arrive here, the first to stand on the threshold of something vast and ancient, and something, somewhere, had become aware of them. The landing party was assembled with surgical precision. No more than 5 personnel. Celeste, Talon, Voss, Security Chief Arden Cole, and HALYON's portable interface, an autonomous humanoid chassis designed to withstand hostile environments and maintain a limited version of the AI's awareness. Celeste didn't like putting HALYON into a shell, but the machine had insisted. There are patterns I must see in dimensions inaccessible to orbital instruments, it had said. No one argued. Touchdown was smooth. The atmospheric shuttle kissed the stone plaza with barely a whisper, its landing struts hissing steam into the cold air. The city loomed around them, its buildings as silent as tombs but clean, pristine, as though time here moved differently. No dust, no decay, just silence and light. Arden held his weapon low but ready, eyes scanning the rooftops. This place gives me the shakes. No visible threats, HALYON observed, but the architecture shifts when unobserved. I advise constant visual contact. Talon frowned. Excuse me? I mean it quite literally. Celeste ignored the tension growing among her team. She stepped forward, her boots echoing faintly. As she approached the central monolith, a spire ringed by levitating discs of silver, a low hum filled the air. One of the discs descended slowly, almost reverently, and halted just above the ground. Dr. Voss? She asked. It's a terminal, he said, eyes wide with awe. I think it's waiting for input. Celeste looked to HALYON, who gave a subtle nod. She stepped forward. The moment her hand approached the surface, the world shifted. A bloom of light engulfed her vision, not blinding but infinite. She felt as though she stood inside a cathedral of stars. A presence stirred in that void, not a voice, not a mind, but awareness. And it reached for her. A flood of images poured into her mind. Planets she had never seen, cities orbiting black holes, creatures made of crystal and flame, vast machines swallowing stars. And then, suddenly, Earth, not as it was, but as they saw it, fragile, young, dangerous. The vision collapsed. Celeste staggered, breath stolen, her knees nearly buckling. Talon caught her arm. I'm fine, she said, but her voice wavered. Voss looked stunned. You made contact. I saw everything, she whispered. And they saw us. The disk before her now pulsed with a new light. HALYON scanned it silently. They have stored information, it said. About us, since before we arrived. That's impossible, Arden muttered. No, Voss said quietly. It's not. If they've been monitoring deep space, if they understand quantum observation, if their tech folds time as well as space, then they've known about us since we first split the atom, Celeste finished. The disk rose into the air and rotated, slowly forming a triangular lattice that opened like an eye. A voice, mechanical, harmonic, and layered, resounded from nowhere. Observer, participant, catalyst, you have arrived. Everyone froze. HALYON's eyes glowed brighter as it translated. It speaks in multiple conceptual bands. It recognizes Celeste as a convergence point. Celeste stepped forward, heart pounding. Who are you? We are the witness. To what? To the rise and fall of sentience, to the patterns of war and transcendence. You are early and unready, but not unworthy. Voss looked at her, awestruck. It's judging us. Celeste kept her eyes on the lattice. Why now? Why reveal yourselves? The light pulsed again. The others awaken. This place is a threshold. You stand on one side. What you choose will shape what lies beyond. HALYON tilted its head. I detect multiple energy spikes from orbit. Something's happening. The comm in Celeste's ear crackled. Bridge to ground team, came the voice of Lieutenant Aaron. Multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace. Unknown transponders. Some large. All are watching us. Talon's eyes widened. We triggered something. Celeste turned back toward the ship, but not before addressing the witness again. What do we do? Be seen. And be worthy. The light vanished. The lattice collapsed into a single point and faded. Above them, the sky was no longer empty. Half a dozen ships had appeared, some angular and massive, others fluid and bizarre in design. None responded to hails. None made a move. They simply hovered above, like stars given form. HALYON's voice came through the tension. They've come, but they're not speaking. Celeste felt the weight settle on her again. Not fear. Not yet. But the knowledge that they had crossed a line from which there was no return. She looked skyward. Then we show them who we are. The presence of the alien vessels in orbit hung like a verdict over Verelda 9. No message. No aggression. Just watching. Admiral Celeste Marlowe stood on the command bridge of the Aegis Prime, her fingers locked behind her back, gaze fixed on the tactical display. 6 ships. 6 unknowns. They shifted occasionally, adjusting their vectors in relation to planet and Aegis Prime, not to one another. They were not a fleet. They were individuals. Observers. Judges. HALYON floated at her side in a projection shell, eyes glowing with cascading glyphs. Each vessel radiates a distinct energy signature. I hypothesize they originate from separate civilizations, possibly even from different sectors of the galaxy. This is not a coordinated arrival. It is a convergence. Commander Talon's voice broke through the stillness. They're not here for diplomacy or war. They're here to see what we do next. Celeste nodded. They won't speak until we prove we're worth listening to. Talon glanced at her. And how do we do that? Play nice on the alien playground? No, she replied, voice level. We survive it. The witness, the structure in the city that had spoken to her, had gone silent since the other ships arrived. It had delivered its message and now watched. Its strange lattice I closed, its systems dormant. Celeste had ordered a temporary withdrawal to the ship, needing time to plan. Voss and HALYON had been working nonstop to decode the data packets the structure had embedded in her neural implants during the encounter. She still felt the pressure of those visions. Galaxies turning. Stars consumed by constructs. Humanity's fragile flame flickering beneath an enormous, unseen hand. Now she was expected to lead them through it. In the science bay, Dr. Voss hunched over the holodeck, projecting layers of alien code like translucent blue circuitry across the walls. They left behind a trial, he said, not looking up. A challenge. The witness isn't just observing. It's recording how we respond. And the others, the alien ships, they're watching that. They're not judges. They're fellow applicants. Applicants for what? Arden asked, standing near the doorway, arms crossed. Voss finally looked up. For whatever comes next. Celeste stepped into the room. We need clarity. Is this trial a puzzle? A test of technology? No. HALYON said from behind her. It is a test of identity. Of intent. The data reveals an echo of an ancient framework. The witness, or its creators, constructed it to seek intelligence capable of more than survival. Intelligence capable of restraint. Understanding. Evolution. Talon paced nearby, eyes sharp. And what happens if we fail? Silence. Then HALYON answered. We become a footnote. Celeste absorbed that. Then we don't fail. She turned back toward the war room. They needed action. Symbols. A gesture both the alien observers and the witness that humanity was not primitive nor reckless, but worthy. A signal of unity and reason. They had to descend again, but this time not to explore, to build, to collaborate, to make contact and return, not just observe. Within the hour, a new mission was organized. A joint task team, engineers, scientists, diplomats. The landing site was converted into a makeshift outpost. Drones began assembling temporary structures, including a beacon aligned with the witness's lattice geometry. Human architecture bent to alien design, not to mimic, but to bridge. Celeste oversaw it all, boots on the ground, never once retreating to the comfort of the command deck. If this was a trial, she would be its vanguard. It didn't take long for a response. At twilight, if it could be called that on Verelda 9, a soft tremor shook the plaza. The ground shimmered, as if responding to their efforts. Then, from within the central monolith, a second disk emerged, this one smaller, etched with shifting symbols. HALYON stepped forward, scanning. New data pattern. But incomplete. It requires input. Celeste approached. You mean it's asking something? Yes, HALYON said, tone laced with awe. It's begun a dialogue. Dr. Voss brought forward a portable terminal. We can answer it, not just with language, but with history, stories, culture, art, the data they left in you. Admiral, it's mirrored here. They want us to reflect. And so they did. Over the next 2 days, the team uploaded fragments of humanity's legacy. Music, philosophy, mathematical constructs, the quiet beauty of Vermeer and the chaotic brushwork of Pollock. Not just achievements, but contradictions, triumphs and atrocities. The story of a species trying to understand itself. Each night, the alien ships in orbit reoriented slightly, closing formation around Verelda, 9 like petals around a bloom. The tension in the air tightened, but no hostile action was taken. Just quiet, expectant silence. Then, on the 3rd day, something changed. Without warning, a new object materialized above the monolith. Not a ship, not a weapon, but a structure. A gateway. It shimmered like liquid obsidian, framed by arcs of white plasma. It pulsed in rhythm with the witness. Talon stood beside Celeste as the team stared upward. Is that a portal? HALYON's eyes brightened. It is a transition point. A doorway. Voss whispered. To where? HALYON replied. To understanding. The lattice reemerged from a monolith, hovering near Celeste. It extended a bridge of light toward her. The path opens, it said. Celeste turned to her team. It's asking us to step through. Arden immediately stepped forward. Ma'am, I advise against that. We have no idea what's on the other side. That's the point, she said, her voice steady. This is a test. Trust, curiosity, courage. She looked around, at the humans, the machines, the stars beyond, at the alien vessels still hovering in silence. Then she stepped onto the bridge of light. The lattice pulsed once, and then the world turned inside out. She stood in a void, but not empty. It was filled with echoes of possibility, timelines branching like veins of silver light. She was nowhere and everywhere. The witness spoke again. You have seen the gate. Now walk the path. Others watch. Some judge. One remembers. Visions cascaded around her. Earth, thriving or in ruins. Humanity embraced by other species or left adrift. The Aegis Prime drifting lifeless or bearing the banner of peace across the stars. And in every vision, one thing was constant. Choice. She blinked, and then she was back. The plaza, the monolith, the waiting team. Only a heartbeat had passed. But something had changed. The lattice was gone. The gate remained. HALYON scanned her silently. It marked you again, it said. It knows what you chose. Celeste nodded, her face pale but resolute. Talon looked at her, eyes narrowed. What now? Celeste turned toward the gate. Now we invite the others. The gate loomed before them. A vast halo of darkness rimmed in white fire, suspended above the ancient city like a question asked in silence. It pulsed with measured energy, as though breathing, waiting. On the ground, the outpost hummed with the quiet panic of preparation. Engineers scrambled to stabilize atmospheric readings near the anomaly. Scientists clustered around data relays, their voices low and urgent. No one dared call this a triumph. Not yet. It was too still, too measured, as if the universe itself were withholding judgment. Admiral Celeste Marlowe stood at the edge of the landing platform, helmet tucked beneath her arm. Her face was drawn, but unwavering. She had stepped through the lattice and returned, marked, changed. The witness had offered no commandments, no threats, only vision. Now it waited. The aliens in orbit waited. The gate waited. All eyes, across space and species, were on her next move. Commander Talon stood at her side, silent, arms folded. The usually stoic officer had not spoken much since her return. Celeste didn't blame him. The crew had seen many things on deep space missions, void anomalies, dead civilizations, bioforms that defied reason, but this was different. This wasn't discovery. It was invitation. Behind them, HALYON's chassis flickered to life, stepping lightly across the smooth stone toward them. The gateway is stabilizing. No fluctuations in its spatial boundaries for over an hour. We have confirmed that it is not a destructive singularity. Talon exhaled. That's a comfort. It is more than a bridge, HALYON added. It is a convergence point. On the other side lies context. Celeste didn't need to ask what that meant. She remembered the branching timelines, the mirrored possibilities. Futures built on choices, some ending in fire, others in peace. She had glimpsed a sliver of what lay beyond, but only a sliver. Any change in the alien vessels? She asked. Minimal maneuvering, HALYON said, but all have moved closer to polar orbit. They are maintaining perfect equidistance from the gate and our ship. It is symmetrical, ritualistic. They're waiting for us to act first, Talon said. No, Celeste corrected softly. They're waiting to see if we act together. HALYON tilted its head. You believe this is more than a human trial? It always was, she said. They didn't just come here to watch us. They came here because they were called to. The witness didn't build this for one species. It built it for the moment when different species became aware of each other. The convergence. Talon looked at her, frowning. You want to invite them down? Celeste nodded. One representative from each vessel. A delegation. We meet here at the gate, on neutral ground. Ardencoal, leaning against a console nearby, straightened. That's a gamble, Admiral. We don't know their intentions. We can't even communicate with them. We didn't know the witness's intentions either, she said, locking eyes with him. But we still listened. HALYON was already tapping into the comm relay. I can construct a basic pulse language using shared mathematical constants. Enough to request parley. It will be understood, if not welcomed. She gave a single nod. Do it. The signal was sent. A simple message encoded in prime intervals and golden ratios, pulsed through non-hostile EM bands. You are invited. One may come. Meet us at the threshold. And then the wait began. It didn't take long. The first to arrive was a shimmering pod that unfolded like liquid mercury just beyond the plaza. From within emerged a being of serpentine limbs and translucent skin, pulsing with bioluminescence. It walked on four legs, spoke with harmonic vibrations, and bowed without words. The second came in a vessel shaped like a petrified bloom, releasing spores that hovered protectively around its lone envoy, a quadruped with fractal wings and no visible mouth. Its eyes, wide and black, blinked slowly at Celeste. The third stepped through a vertical slit of space that hadn't been there before. No ship, no portal. Just stepped through, cloaked in light, humanoid but featureless. It did not speak, but Celeste felt it in her mind, gently brushing her thoughts with images of storm and starlight. In time, 6 arrived. One from each ship. None spoke as humans did, and yet they all understood. A silence gathered that was not absence, but potential. They stood before the gate together. 6 beings and 1 human. HALYON hovered nearby, an interpreter and sentinel. Cameras recorded every moment, but no one watched them in real time. This was not performance. It was ceremony. Celeste took 1 step forward, raising her hand. "We are not alone," she said, not expecting them to understand the words, but hoping they'd understand the gesture. "We never were." The being with fractal wings mirrored her motion with a flick of one appendage. HALYON translated the pulse response. It says, "We remember others who forgot this. We do not wish to forget again." Another response followed from the serpentine one. HALYON translated, "This is the right moment. Chosen well." Then the light around the gate changed. It thickened, expanded, then split, 6 distinct paths of energy forming bridges from the gate to each delegate, but only one to Celeste. HALYON's voice trembled, rare for the AI. "The witness has acknowledged the council. Each must choose to cross. Together, or none." Talon's voice crackled through the comm. "Admiral, this is unprecedented. Are you sure this is safe?" "No," she said, stepping onto her path. "But it's right." One by one, the delegates followed. None hesitated. As her foot crossed the threshold, the gate responded, not with sound but with sensation. A cascade of shared memory enveloped her, not just her own species this time, but all those present. She saw empires that had risen and fallen before Earth cooled, saw alliances formed in darkness, hope found in exile. She felt their doubts, their triumphs, their grief, and in return, she gave them hers. War, division, music, laughter, light reflected in the eyes of a child. When the surge passed, she found herself in a chamber of impossible dimensions. Above, a sky of shifting stars. Below, a floor of woven light. The other delegates stood near her, silent, watching. In the center of the chamber hovered a sphere, black as night, burning with a heart of gold. The witness. It spoke in a voice they all understood, not with words, but meaning. "You have crossed the veil. You have chosen to listen. You may now shape the silence." Celeste felt the weight of it, not burden, but responsibility. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now you decide together what the next age will become." And then the chamber faded, not into darkness, but into unity, into light. For the first time in history, humanity was not the center of the story. It was part of chorus.